On this week's episode, we look at Star Wars The Last Jedi as it debuts in theaters this weekend. Disney's Crazy Like a Fox and how you can still fight the ending of net neutrality. And how you can still fight the ending of net neutrality. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. Multiverse. I whistle my S's. Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. It's that time again. Time for Star Wars. I know that was terrible, but it is time again. It is Star Wars weekend. The Last Jedi premieres this weekend in theaters all around the world. It's going to be another great time for Star Wars fans indeed. And who is here to help me break down what's going on in the world of Star Wars and a whole bunch more in pop culture than the man, the myth, the legend. He is the man behind Humanica Media. And you want to check out all their great stuff today on Humanica Media on Facebook and YouTube. It's Josh Peterson. What's going on, my friend?
My fellow Jedis call me quite Josh Jin. I don't know if you knew that, but
whoa,
we go around and getting lightsaber duels with people and stuff. But yeah, not much, man. I am, I'm in a different room today. You can see my Christmas tree back here.
I know, no, unmade bed. What's up with that, man? No. I think I'm getting, just like a tick or something that I can't get rid of because I can't handle the fact that we're not, seeing your unmade bed.
Can't see the Akira poster either. No, my brother wanted me to record a podcast for him, so I had to bring my desktop downstairs.
Okay.
So, man, just podcasting it up.
Well, still, it is great to have you here, and it actually looks a little bit holiday theme-ish right there behind you, and it's great to see that indeed. And we're getting into the holidays ourselves, end of year coming around. We've been passing around some great holiday gift ideas. And first off, I want to thank Salvador Villa from Mario Party Wars, and also as well Michelle and Diana from the Wine Women of Words podcast. You want to check out that podcast today on Apple Podcasts and also podcast.com and YouTube. They were so kind, all three of them, to stop by in the last two episodes to talk some great holiday gift ideas in the realm of board gaming and also books. So you definitely want to check out those two episodes indeed if you need some good ideas on some different things to get that loved one in your life or some good friends or what have you, if they're really into board games or books as well. So we definitely appreciate them taking the time to do so. We hope to also as well by the end of the month get you some special updates and things of that nature. Get you some special looks at our thoughts on the year in 2017 as far as pop culture is concerned. I'm hoping to get some people on in regards to video games, TV, movies, and also as well take a look at pro wrestling. I'm hopeful to get Mike Crockett back on, trying to work that out from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. Josh and I are going to be talking some movies. Rob McCallum, Josh, myself, Douglas Hoyabu of Retro City Games. We're all going to be talking the best video games of the year, and the TV ratings guy is going to be stopping by pretty soon as well, talking the best TV of 2017. So I can't wait for that. And I also wanted to take one moment in time to thank everyone out there that went ahead and voted in the 2017 Discover Pods Awards. We truly thank you if you voted for us, but we just thank you for participating and voting on the best podcasts that are out there. Again, we're just truly humbled and honored to be considered one of the best 140 podcasts that were submitted of the over 4,000. So that's definitely a great thing indeed. And we just are truly, we're truly psyched about being part of this. And even though voting has closed, we appreciate you voting, appreciate it if you voted for us as well. And just thank you for taking the time and doing so. But right now, We got to be talking some Star Wars. Let's talk some Star Wars. I know, really bad. I'm sorry. Again, had to do it. It is Last Jedi. Josh, you and I are going to be seeing it pretty much in the next few days as well. Your thoughts on what you're excited to see now that The Last Jedi has come out in theaters. It's expected to do a little bit less than The Force Awakens because I guess that nostalgia, bringing back the Star Wars series, that really hyped up everybody as far as going to theaters that weekend. It's closer to 200 to 220 million projected in the United States and closer to 450 million worldwide. Those numbers are still strong, but is there a chance that The Force Awakens can have a run for its money this weekend with The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I think so. I know we talked about this on the last show, sort of. I think that, whereas Force Awakens had the anticipation of a Star Wars movie after, all those years and the terrible prequels, and it was kind of feeding into a new generation of Star Wars fans and people wanting more Star Wars. And now they gave them that, but now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. We're getting into some of the definitive questions that people have been asking and the answers that they need, like who are Rey's parents? What is going on? The trailers, what is going on with Kylo Ren and Rey? Why is Rey holding Kylo Ren's lightsaber? There's a lot of they're doing a very good job marketing, and I think that now they're officially into the Star Wars for a new generation, and because of that, because of all the new fans getting onto this, I think that it is going to give Force Awakens a run for its money. And from what I understand, the reviews are coming back very good. I'm not opening any of them. I don't want to know anything about it until I see it. But from what I understand, it's doing very well among critics.
It is indeed. Right now, it stands as of what I was looking at, 85% on Metacritic and also 92% on Rotten Tomatoes as of right now. Those are great numbers. Those are definitely some very, very strong numbers. So that means there's a lot of love going out for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Definitely something that gets the interest of fans out there. In fact, those numbers, I believe, are a little bit stronger than what came out for The Force Awakens. I know that a lot of people are thinking at this point in time that it could be even better. We'll have to wait and see and judge for ourselves. I know I'm going to be able to give everyone my thoughts on it for the Monday episode, and I know Josh will be giving his pretty much down the road as well when he gets to check it out. So definitely stay tuned. And then also in the Cosmic Crossfire coming up next week on the Friday edition, I'm going to have the Stars of Nintendo Quest director Rob McCallum and also his best friend and star, Jay Bartlett, who is probably the most psycho Star Wars fan around. Those two are going to talk their thoughts on The Last Jedi. They will not have shared any knowledge of their thoughts beforehand. So it's going to be something to listen to as well. And that's going to take place on this show in the Cosmic Crossfire coming up. So that's definitely something to look forward to indeed. But The Last Jedi, 200 to 220 million, very strong, but is it going to match up to The Force Awakens? $247 million worldwide that The Force Awakens earned. I've been talking since we've last talked on the Pop Culture Cosmos show, kind of wavered back and forth a bit on it. I think it's just going to come up a little bit short. I think that 220 number is realistic. Getting 250, which is pretty much what it would have to do, is a little bit out of the realm. I think maybe that would set up for the third episode 9 if that comes out strong. I think that one, because it is the signature closing of this part of the trilogy, I think that might be more apt to be able to hit those numbers than The Last Jedi. Been thinking hard about it. I think this one goes out with a whole lot of love from the fans. I think that will just only build the anticipation for the final chapter of this trilogy even more. So, but it could be wrong, and hopefully I am. Hopefully it will reach those numbers. I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing it, and it's definitely a great time indeed. I got my Star Wars shirt going on. I'm hoping that it will turn out well, and I've got my plans to see it this weekend. What are your thoughts out there on The Last Jedi? Do you think it can approach or surpass the numbers of The Force Awakens? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, it's going to be a great episode indeed. We have got Rob McCallum standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. He and I are going to talk Disney's major acquisition that took place this week, purchasing a lot of the 20th Century Fox, 21st Century Fox, 21st Century Fox, what have you. We're going to be talking the purchase of Fox Films and so much more by Disney for $52.4 billion. We're going to talk about that in the Cosmic Crossfire. He's going to share his thoughts. I'm going to share his thoughts. I'm going to share my thoughts. And then also as well, after that, Josh and I are going to come back, and Josh will get a chance to elaborate more on the Disney Fox acquisition and just go over how important this is to the landscape of pop culture and digital media going forward. And then also on the back end, Josh and I will be talking about the repeal by the FCC of net neutrality and what that could do to affect us, and how we can still have a say in the future going forward to, if that's your wish and that's your desire, because I know it's certainly mine, to regain the power of net neutrality and tell the FCC exactly what's going on and what needs to be done as far as the future of the internet is concerned. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about that on the back end. And also as well, Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot podcast. He's here to preview Week 15 in the NFL. It's going to be a great weekend indeed, because this is, for most leagues out there, the championship game. Unfortunately, I will not be a part of it. Kind of bummed about that. But for all those out there that are looking to make those key moves, he and I are going to talk about that coming up later in the show as well. It's going to be a great episode indeed, but I've got my good friend Warren Fernandez. This is a world premiere right here for you. Some latest music that he's got going on today. As you can find his whole album right now on Emoji. You can find all of his great work on emojiengine.bandcamp.com. That's emojiengine.bandcamp.com. It's got some great songs there, a lot of travel based, because the title of a lot of the songs on his album, Emoji Engine, is just they're city based and whatnot. So they bring a lot of good memories for him, and let's hope they do so for you as well. This is Las Vegas, and this is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. Josh, I know you've got some great things going on with Humanica Media, so please, sir, can you share us what is going on with Humanica Media?
Well, Gerald, it's funny you mentioned that, because right now I am currently editing a little pop culture topicocalypse crossover featuring a certain Gerald Glassford of a certain pop culture show. He's a cool dude, but I don't want to feed his ego too much.
I think so.
I try not to tell him that, because it kind of like my screen can only fit so much of his head inside of it. So there's that. So right now you can listen to a brand new episode of What About This, which went up Monday night. You can listen to a new Super BS Gamescast, which went up yesterday night. And tonight you can check out a new episode of Topicocalypse and a new episode of Inside Sports.
Awesome indeed. There is a lot of stuff going on there, so check it out on the Inside Sports, Topicocalypse, Super BS Gamescast, all of their channels on Podbean, on also as well the Humanica Media YouTube page. And for more information, check out all their great info on their pages or the Humanica Media page on Facebook as well. And well, all the shows are on Apple Podcasts. So if you really love Apple Podcasts and you've got the Pop Culture Cosmos channel on there as well, subscribe to all of them and you're all set indeed. For us, if you can't get us for any reason on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel on iTunes, or what they call it, Apple Podcasts, you can still get us on a number of great channels, including Podchaser, the Tangibound Network, the ESO Network, Gonna Geek Network, the Gonna Geek, and so many others as well. We're on over a dozen different podcasting outlets, and we truly appreciate you listening to us on any one of them. So definitely thank you so much for listening indeed. Well, Josh, you heard our thoughts in regards to Rob and I going back and forth on the Disney Fox acquisition. He was not in love with it because of what it sets as a precedent going forward for artists within that realm, because as someone who creates movies for a living and documentaries, he thinks it will definitely affect the player base that it's out there because of the shrinking of one major studio. Myself, I think it's better for the consumer out there because they're going to be able to get a better packaged option when Disney comes up with their streaming service, and also as well improvements with the FX channels going forward. So I ask you, Josh, you've heard all what's going down between our thoughts, and also you've read up on exactly what the Disney Fox acquisition is going to be all about. So what are your thoughts on Disney buying a lot of these Fox assets?
I see both sides of the argument. I see where Rob's coming from, and I see where you're coming from. I see where Rob's coming from because, it basically Disney, there's maybe a few major studios out there, Warner Brothers among them, who are still operating outside the realms of Disney, but Disney is getting close to monopolizing the film industry in terms of blockbusters. And then we have, on the opposite side of that, we have for the fans, it's actually I think it's a really good thing, I guess, because, not only are we seeing our, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four being reincorporated into the Marvel universe, hopefully, if that's what they decide to do, or how they're going to merge it. I don't know, maybe they're going to do a Secret Wars type thing, but, I think that it's good in that aspect. But what I'm curious about now is what are they going to do with like some of the more hard R-rated properties that Fox is known for. So, it just blows my mind to think right now that Disney owns the Alien and Predator franchise. And what are they going to do with them? Like, are they dead? Are we going to see any more? I know the Predator movie's still coming out, but, as far as Ridley Scott's Aliens, where's that going to go? Are we going to get to see it, or is it just going to be buried, or what's going to happen with that? Do you want to?
Oh yeah, well the Predator is still in production now. Who knows if it ever gets the light of day? I will say that Bob Iger did say he was very supportive of the R-rated comic book hero as far as film juggernauts such as Logan, Old Man Logan, and also as well Deadpool. He is going to be very supportive. Disney is of Deadpool 2 that's going to be coming out. So that will still stay an R-rated film. So I think that was, a lot what people were worried about. But for the Aliens franchise, who knows? You and I talked about the Aliens franchise earlier this year with so many issues because of the fact that we both think it right now in its current pattern, it's a failing franchise. Predator, yeah, they could go ahead and they're going to finish production most likely on it and probably go ahead and send it out. They probably won't shelve it unless it's totally a stinker. That I think at least for the short term, they're not going to do too much to mess with the apple cart at this point outside of the X-Men and Fantastic Four realm.
Right, and that's the that's the good and the bad thing is that we're seeing all that we see in the news, all the stuff that people are writing about has strictly to do with the comic book franchises. We're not seeing anything regarding, I don't expect to see any movement in Die Hard, but we're not seeing anything regarding like Avatar, Die Hard, Alien, Predator, some of their other, some of the other big
Home Alone,
Fox,
Independence
Home
Day,
Alone, Independence Day. Yeah, they haven't even like talked
Ice
about those
Age.
other things.
There's quite a few that they have.
Yeah, yes, but they haven't said what's going to happen to those. So I would kind of like to know more about that. And then in the superhero genre, everyone's talking about. I had an interesting conversation with Cameron from the Gardens of the Geek podcast, and he was telling me that uh, it's about time that somebody had the ability to make a Fantastic Four movie that was actually good, that did them justice. And I had brought up the fact, like, hey, do you think maybe the Fantastic Four would be better off being introduced in a new or in somebody else's film? And he said no, because it's kind of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's kind of or Steve Ditko, one of the two. It's their opportunity to that was the first time that they made a comic book that they actually wanted to make. So I see it from that point of view, and he's talking about how Fantastic Four is kind of like the seed for the entire Marvel universe. But from what I understand, a big player in those comic books is Namor the Submariner, who's kind of the first superhuman in that realm. But Legendary still owns the rights to Namor. So,
well, I will say this: I think it's a safe bet they'll be introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
At some
point. I don't think they'll just get boom. They're just going to get their own film. I think they would be smart personally to go ahead and reintroduce them within the Marvel culture by reintroducing them to a well-known, popular property such as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and get them a fresh start through that first, and then go ahead, if you have your desires, to bring out something specific to just them later on.
Yeah, I want to see the Silver Surfer in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like that would be a huge dream for me. Okay, but
you may get that in GOTG3.
Yeah, I hope so, because they're bringing Nova, and in the comic books, Silver Surfer, Nova, Guardians, those guys all run into each other. But this is one thing I do want to talk to you about as far as this deal goes. So basically, with all this, Fox, Disney, Marvel, all these movies, Netflix is going to be completely empty except for their own original content and the occasional Warner Brothers stuff that they're allowed to play. So how do you think this is going to affect streaming services? Because I know Disney's going to have their own streaming service, but how do you think it'll affect the smaller players like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon? Even though I know Hulu has Marvel properties on it.
Hulu's been bought by Disney. They own a percentage of Hulu. Now they took away Fox's, or they purchased Fox's rights to Hulu, whatever percentage they had, 30. I think they both had 30%.
Own the whole thing.
Now they own 60% of Hulu. So pretty much they own Hulu.
Got it. Okay.
So they may start their venture in the streaming service. You know how they were talking about their own streaming service. Well, Hulu might just end up being that streaming service after all, or maybe just an extension of it. But I have a feeling going forward, the Hulu end of it will be a major part of this acquisition going forward.
Yeah, I didn't think about it from that point. So how do you think this is going to affect Netflix and Amazon, though? So I know that they're kind of new into the streaming game, and they're the juggernauts right now. But now when Disney releases their streaming service, they got all the Fox properties too, and those are all movies that people really love. So
plus The Simpsons.
Plus The Simpsons. So how do you think that's going to affect these two players?
I think it just sets the ball even more in the court of Disney. I mean, I was already on board with going ahead for a all Disney streaming service because of so many of the different properties that it already has. And now you just add the Fox properties on it even more. It's really something. And you got to remember as well, the television platforms that they have currently, ABC, which is solid for them, but it's not number one in the broadcast area. FX, which is one of the leaders of the cable industry end of it, they now have, along with FXX and FXM, those are two other smaller channels that they now possess. But the fact that they'll have FX, which is a major catapult for them as far as going ahead and being able to communicate to a general audience, that is something very enticing indeed, I think, again, for Disney in all this, because what they have right now in regards to Freeform and Disney Channel has already blocked itself off to a certain age group as far as their demographic is concerned. And Freeform, you know how much I've bashed Freeform over the past years. Oh, wait, there's another Harry Potter movie on. Oh, wait, there's another Twilight movie on. And that's it. That's all they do. That's all they show. I mean, that channel has pretty much been
Not
given up.
anymore. Not anymore. They streamed Harry Potter for the last time 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, there you go. So that's just, did I even care? Pretty much that tells you the story about the where Freeform stands with general audiences, because not a lot of people watch Freeform. So having FX now in their queue doesn't mean that they also have to go out and create another channel that will be able to gain them even more viewage within the realm of the cable space as well. So they even got that end even going more with their ESPN and also FX going forward. I know they have other interests in other channels as well, but those were the ones that really seem to be affected by what's going on. So definitely there are some factors there which make it very interesting. I think Rob said it best. I was kind of a little bit quick on the draw when I said 10 years. Now that I've had more time to think about it, it is probably going to be closer to 20 years before you can see this really come to fruition as far as the purchase price of $54 billion. I mean, you and I both have already agreed that Disney has already made its money back with Marvel and already with Lucasfilm. Those rights being bought for $4 billion apiece, that was nothing. That's already in the past. They've got that, and they're now just banking on whatever it's going forward. But $54 billion is going to be a lot to make up, or is it $52.4 billion is going to be a lot to make up in the coming years, and it's going to take a little while before you get to the break-even point. And I think if they do it, it should be by year 15 to 20 that they should really see this come to fruition and start seeing some profits on this going forward. So
right. So one more thing though, how the big question is, how is this going to affect the film industry as a whole? Because I know the Trade Commission were actually trying to block this deal because of the implications and it could give Disney a monopoly over the industry. So that's the big question here, is now that Disney has so much money to pump into these things, are we going to see a slowdown in production of big blockbusters, or are we going to just keep on seeing more come out at a faster rate? And how is this going to affect the indie maker like Rob, or some of these smaller companies like Gravitas Ventures, or the A24 Film House? How is this going to affect them? And because we were kind of going into an indie movement here for a little bit, so now what is going to happen? That's the big question.
Well, you still have that with A24. You still have The Shape of Water being bandied about as a potential film of the year candidate. Lady Bird, also as well, The Disaster Artist. You have a lot of art house films that are still getting some marquee interest. The Disaster Artist did great in last week's box office, and it poised to do okay as well this weekend. So definitely there are some signs there that the independent film could benefit by this, because it could get more spotlighted chances and opportunities, because I think it does. I think this acquisition will slow down a little bit the number of box office opportunities and releases going forward in the next 5, 10, 15 years. I don't have a problem with that personally, because of the fact that so many films on a AAA box office level have failed. I mean, look at this past year alone. How many big budget films have failed their opportunity because they either came too close to another one, and we talked about Star Trek the other day, Rob and I. Star Trek, the last one, was it Star Trek Contact? Star Trek. The last Star Trek.
Into Darkness?
No, after that.
Beyond?
Star Trek Beyond. There you go. Forgot that too the last time. Star Trek Beyond, that had an issue because it was just placed right after the Bourne film. And in 2017, that's still happening, where these films are coming out in the summertime, in peak box office, and even non-peak box office times, where they're still coming out one after another, after another, after another, and they're all competing against each other, and they're all dissecting the marketplace and breaking it down too much, and people are not going to see these films. I think it does create less competition in the marketplace as far as big budget opportunities, but it also creates more opportunities for the little guy and independent filmmakers, and also independent art houses and independent film production companies to take that opportunity and pick up the slack with some more films of their own. So I see this as an advantage for the little guy in that realm, for those middle to bigger budget movies, which may look more towards like it's going to be a flop or whatnot. Those may be fewer and far between, because just because there's going to be less films that are going to be released by these big budget studios.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see that. So I don't want to see the indie die. I love indie films, and
I think this is going to bring out more independent film.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope. We can hope. So, like you said, it's going to take a while before we see the fruits of this labor of this acquisition and what the overall effects are. But yeah, I mean, I'm on board for it for right now.
As am I. I think I am as well. I think this is a win for the consumer that's out there. And lately, we've been dealing with stuff that are very unconsumer friendly, as far as decisions that have been made governmental wise, also decisions that have been made media wise as well. So, as we'll talk about at the end of the podcast. So definitely something for the consumer, as far as, at least in the short term, as far as what they're asking for. Marvel properties coming back home to Marvel, that's a good thing, and that's a win for the consumer. And hopefully going forward the next 10, 15, 20 years, as Disney tries to recoup its money from this acquisition, that it will still have the consumer in mind as well. What are your thoughts on the Fox Disney? What are your thoughts on the Fox acquisition by Disney? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanica Media, Pop Culture Cosmos, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. When we come back, it's Tyler Baker previewing for what many will be the championship game in their fantasy football league, because it's week 15 in the NFL, and we'll have a preview with Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast when we come back. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford, and we're just truly thankful that you got a chance to check out the show today. Want to give props and thanks so much to Rob McCallum, and also as well Tyler Baker stopping by, and of course my good friend Josh Peterson from Humanica Media for stopping by as well, to sharing his thoughts on The Last Jedi, and also as well to sharing his thoughts on the Disney acquisition of a lot of Fox properties. So definitely some great talking, some great thoughts indeed were shared on this episode, but it's not all done yet, because recently this week the FCC has decided to repeal the law in regards to net neutrality. For those that are not as familiar with that, net neutrality was basically the laws that were set to help keep the internet one basic concept, one basic free open source material, as far as people accessing it and whatnot, and being charged one basic price for accessing it all. And looks like at this point in time, with the FCC repealing it, that those things are going to go by, and more corporate interests are going to be able to go in and charge you for various things that you're doing, downloading, uploading, streaming. Podcasting could be entirely different going forward. Podcasting could be too costly for a lot of entities out there. Streaming could be a lot of costly for a lot of individuals that are so used to streaming now, that have cut the cord in the past. If a cable company owns a specific internet. It could charge a lot more for if you want to stream Netflix, trying to lure you back into watching cable again. So there's a lot of variants. There's a lot of things that it could be thrown out there if this ending of net neutrality takes place. Josh, what are your thoughts on net neutrality? Would you have liked to have kept it, or are you glad to see it finally come to a point where the FCC said, at this point, there's going to be no new net neutrality going forward?
Yeah, I'm for net neutrality. I know this is causing tension with me and some people I know, but I and at the same time, like I don't, I'm before net neutrality was introduced, I don't remember that far back to know like what the cost of internet was, what I was paying for services. But now, like I see, I've been seeing a lot of mock-ups today of what this means. Like, the big cable and internet companies are basically, they get to decide how much, you get to charge a separate fee for Netflix. Is it a separate fee for video games? Is it a separate fee for, downloading, uploading, whatever you want to do? And I just like, it's, as a content creator, I'm broke constantly. So like any increase in dollar amount is going to be, I don't want to say detrimental, but it's going to be harmful to my ability to create things. So, I like the idea of net neutrality. I like the idea of having one basic thing for everybody. But now it's, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like from what I understand, nothing big like happened before with the internet, but like, I'm seeing a lot of things that are scaring me. And I know there's some other countries who have done that. And like they now have bigger fees for different things they want to do. And it's, for people who make things, creators, like it's uncharted waters. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if you are out there and you wanted to pay more for your internet, God bless you, because you got what you wanted. If you wanted the status quo and you just wanted to pay for one entity, when you go on, you do what you want to do, you take care of what you want to take care of, and you can go on back at any point in time if you just pay whatever basic fee to your internet provider, whether it's a cable company, whether it's a other ISP, what have you. That basic price to cover all the internet usage that you do, and you didn't, and you wanted that part of it, it's a sad day, because for me, I can tell you I'm extremely disappointed that it just came down to that greed from a corporate entity like this, and it's something that the FCC, which is supposed to protect consumers, is actually working against consumers. And this was by far a majority of individuals wanted to keep net neutrality. I mean, this was not even a 50-50 thing. This was more like a 90-10 split, as far as 90% of the American population wanting to keep wanting to keep net neutrality and the way they enjoy their internet the way it is, as it was this week, until the possibility of it being changed. And it scares me too, as someone who is also a content creator. I may not be able to, going forward in the future, provide content for my consumers that want to hear this show, because of the fact it may become too costly. And that's very sad. And that disappoints me greatly. And just that prospect scares me to death as well. And being able to play video games, going online into a Star Wars Battlefront or a Call of Duty, or playing online, could cost you even more. Is that what you wanted? If that's what you wanted, that's what you got. If you wanted to go ahead and watch movies on Netflix or stream movies on whatever entity, and you wanted to pay more for it, you got what you wanted. But if you didn't want that, and you wanted to keep net neutrality, which I believe most of again, from what all reports are saying, on right or the left, moderate or liberal, most of the internet, most of the people that are out there in America wanted to keep net neutrality. And if you wanted to still continue to support net neutrality, you can do that. You can go to your congressperson. You can go to your representative in the House. You can go to the representative or Senate, because they still have the power to go ahead and repeal this decision this terrible decision by the FCC. And also, you can also support all the states that are going to go into providing, because a lot of states have already indicated that they're going to be suing the FCC because of this, and you can support those states that are doing so. But you got to show your support. You got to go ahead and call your congressperson, your person of the House, your representative of the Senate, whoever it is that you feel comfortable in telling that, hey, net neutrality is. But you got to go ahead and you got to tell them, you got to contact your Congress, you got to contact your either your Senate, your House representative, or both. You got to contact them and tell them that you want net neutrality brought back and you want this porous decision by the FCC repealed. So you can also sign the petitions that are out there, but there are many of them. But there were many of them out there before this week's decision was made, and it did no good. So if you're out there and you still want to fight for net neutrality, you need to go and call or contact, email, whatever way you see fit to contact your congressperson in your area and make sure you let them know how you feel about keeping net neutrality. Josh, any other thoughts on this? Because I'm getting all riled up, man. I'm really getting angry about this.
No, I can feel it, man. I can see it. You're like, your computer screen's breaking.
It's not making me feel good because I already can, when I pop open that bill and I see all those excessive charges that are made for the things I was normally doing in November and up until now, that might be changed because of this really ridiculous decision that was made. It's just got me all charged up and it got me all charged up, and I'm just telling you, it's not good at all, and it's not good for the people that want to use the internet in a respectful and informational fashion. I've got two daughters. I've got two daughters that are still growing up in the world and access in the internet, and they're just starting to be able to go around and access all the great things and all the positive things that are going on in the internet, instead of just all the bad stuff that they know and they can hear about or whatnot. They try to go ahead and use it as a learning tool. They can go ahead and they're still trying to go ahead and use it as something that's educational for them and informative for them, so that can help build better lives for them. And by this decision, if it costs too much to do those sorts of things, you could be taking away that from my children as well, and that makes me really, really mad.
What kind of irks me about this is that this is a huge issue, and it's not, and as an issue that affects everybody, like our livelihoods, it should have been something that we were able to vote on. And
I agree with you 100% on that, and it definitely would not have passed if that was the case.
Right, and you look at it now, and this has become, all the people who are against it, it's, you ask them why, and it's like everything else, it drives me nuts. It's a matter of Republicans versus Democrats, and I can't stand it. I'm going to give you a little preview of my next topic on Topicocalypse. It's, I no longer care about politics, because it's become such a crap show, and it just drives me nuts, man. This thing is kind of irking me.
Well, when you get into that big of a majority of individuals that do not want this passed, that goes beyond the realm of Republicans and Democrats, moderates and liberals. This is something that affects everyone. And when those people that support this decision that was made get their bills and they're going to be higher and realize what a dumb blankety blank that they are for believing in that, then that's what it is. It's just what it is. What a mistake this is. This is sending the wrong message to the people of America, and this is sending the wrong message to people who use the internet in a respectful fashion. And it's very disappointing, and it's very bad for consumers at large.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
I was in tears there for a second because I got so emotional. But what can I say? All kidding aside, it was just a lame decision, but you still have time to share your opinions and your thoughts. So please contact your congressperson, contact whoever you need to contact that can make a difference out there in the government, in the realm of government, and be able to fight for net neutrality, and fight for net neutrality going forward, and to see if we can get the poorest decision changed and go back to the way we love using the internet. So Josh, I'm sorry. What are your thoughts out there on net neutrality? We'd love to hear from you. I mean, we've spoken out before. We're here before you on it. We'd love to hear your thoughts either which way. And if you do think opposite of what we think, we want to know why. If you've got a sound reason why you support the repeal of net neutrality, share us your thoughts. But on paper, this doesn't look good for the consumers, and we would love to hear from those individuals as well. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanica Media, GameSource, and Facebook and Twitter as well. Share us your thoughts there at PopCultureCosmos, at PopCultureCosmo. Any way you want to get a hold of us, we'd love to hear your thoughts indeed. So Josh, I got all worked up there. I do apologize. I was kind of, getting a little mad regarding what went on, but I want to say I've got everything back now as we close the show, and want to thank you for being part of another great episode this week. And I am still excited that The Last Jedi is coming this weekend, and definitely looking forward to seeing indeed. And it sounds like you are as well.
Yeah, I got my tickets for Monday. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I haven't been excited about a movie in a long time, so I'm looking forward to this one. I haven't allowed myself to be excited about a movie in a long time.
What about Blade Runner 2049?
I wasn't. I wanted to see it. I was anticipating it, but I wasn't like. I didn't have any standards for it. Like, this is Star Wars. I do have standards for it.
But
I like going into movies not having expectations and not knowing anything about them, especially science fiction movies. So I'm excited about this. I love Blade Runner. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't like. I was excited to see it, but I wasn't like. I didn't have this bar set for it.
All right. Well, that I give you because you're talking about a 30-year-old movie there. I'll give you that one. But it's when you said you weren't excited for this one, and when you were excited for that one, and you're excited for this one, and you're excited for that one. So I was just kind of confused, but that's okay. You're excited for both in each of its own ways. And with like you said, the bar has been set high for the Star Wars saga. So definitely The Last Jedi is something we both are excited for indeed. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's hopefully will stay another beautiful day in paradise, as long as net neutrality stays around, right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening, and hopefully you'll stay listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.